I have a saying that goes, big pond, big fish, small pond, small fish. It goes the same with growing succulents. Big pots equals big plants. Small pots equals small plants. So in this video, let me show you the differences of growing succulents in big pots versus small pots. Hello there, my name is Liz, a self-confessed succulent addict. Welcome to my channel, Growing Succulents. So this one here is grown in a bigger pot with bigger plants. So even that one has lost its rosy shape or rosette like this one, like compact shape, but it's still much bigger. So if I compare it with these ones here, these ones on the right in the bigger pot has bigger rosettes compared to this one that's just growing in this propagating pot. This is a big fish living in a big pond. Look how big these ones are compared to this one here. So these ones are grown in a big pot as well. But this one, the soil that I put them in is not as rich as the soil that I put these ones in. So this is grown in my intermediate succulent soil mix, and you can see the difference. So the soil is a much healthier soil. So if you have a big pond, or should I say a big pot with healthier soil, then the plant can grow much bigger if that's what you want to do. If you want to grow bigger plants, then I suggest replacing your soil mix and putting it into a more nutritious soil mix so that the plants can grow, also coupled with a bigger pot. So I love this plant, but this plant is grown in a small pond, or should I say it's still a big pot, but not as big as this one's here. So this one now, let's compare the two. So these are also 1, 2, 3. These are my OB1 Canobi Haworthia, OB1, okay? So I'm just playing with the words, but anyway, these are all planted at the same time. Well, put it this way, I bought them at the same time and I planted them at the same time, but they are not growing as fast as the same time. I'm just looking on the side here. See, there's new plants growing, trying to grow as well. So this one needs space. So Haworthia needs space to grow, so that way you can have a nice full lush like this one. So this one as well, I also put 3 plants. So 1, 2, and 3 plants. So the same plant, I've got it growing in a pot somewhere, a smaller pot, and it has maintained or stayed small. But this one's now, look how big this is. So also planted in my intermediate soil mix. So the soil and the size of the pot do matter, because this one as well, if you have a look, even down in the bottom, you can see the difference. They have Haworthia's got long roots or longer roots compared to, say, an Echeveria. So they need a tall pot to grow in so that the roots can reach down into the lowest depth of the soil so they can grow much bigger and faster. They need a lot of nutrients and water so they can go plump up like this one. Look how big that one is, nice and big. Look how big, look, thumb size comparison. And that's not even the biggest leaf. The biggest leaf is down in the bottom there. Look, and then compared to, where's the biggest one? Look, it's a quarter of the size. These Monroe are grown from leaves, or should I say they also came from the same mother plant. Look at the difference. So they're both planted in small pots. So the top or the mouth of the pot are the same, but the depth of the pot are different. So this one here, look, see, this is a deeper pot. So again, Even with Echeveria, you say, a lot of people say that they have shallow roots only because most people plant them in shallow pots. But if given a chance to grow in a deeper pot, they can also take advantage of the soil. So they are survivors, these plants, and that's why they make do with what they've got. If you place them in a small pot, then they will grow small plants. If you put them in a big pot, they will grow big plants. Now, last but not the least of my examples of growing big pond, big fish, small pond, little fish. This is a beautiful, beautiful plant. I think they're called the cocoon plant as well. So this one has been propagated from my mummy, and I started with just one plant like this one here. It's just one rosette like that, like this one. And I propagated, I planted them in two separate pots. So one in this small pot and the other one in this other pot. Now look at the difference. So, big pot, big plants, and more small pot, smaller plants or less plants. And this one also has got mealybug, which I need to attend to. And this one has got no mealybug so far. So let's go. I have to give you a nice spray of metho. This is a big fish living in a big pond. These Amestros have been growing in here for a few months, and they were all cuttings from a propagated plant that I beheaded a couple of years ago and has produced a lot of Amestros. And then now I planted them in this big pot so that they can grow much faster and bigger. But this one is now due for a repot as well. This has to be taken out and placed in a bigger pond or a bigger garden. So this pot here is quite deep. It holds a lot of soil. That's why the plant was able to get the nutrients that's in the soil to make them grow bigger like this. So this one here is also an Amestro, a little fish living in this little pot. So compared to the other one, the size of the pot, although it's quite deep, it's much smaller. That's why this plant is not even growing as fast as its counterpart. Even with the small one here, you can see the difference of the shine that the plant has. So this one is a much bigger plant, or should I say it's got more nutrients compared to this one here. This one is sort of dull looking, although it's colorful, looks much duller in appearance than the other nice full-bodied ones. I bought this one 2 years ago. This is my original mother plant, and I started with just one cutting, and I paid $25 for it. Quite expensive even at the time for this plant. It has grown and has produced lots of heads. So these are all coming from one plant. You can see the stem there. So there was one plant that I've cut off from this one. So that's now showing down in the bottom there. There's a new baby growing there. But so I took a cutting from this plant and grown it in my intermediate soil mix, or intermediate succulent soil mix. And look how pretty this is. And then now the plant that I've taken from this mother plant has now grown really big, and ta-da! Now you're gonna say they are different plants. No, they're not. They're the same plant. So this is the mummy plant grown in my 50% UV shade cloth area in the shelves, so it's like sort of protected all the time, and has grown this beautiful color. It almost looks like my whimsy, but not as pretty as my whimsy. It's pretty, but not as pretty. But anyway, this one now is this Pachyberia Pachytoides. I started with one plant, and now it has grown. It's gone crazy. there's a few of them, so 1, 2, 3 that has remained variegated. So this actually grew faster than this mommy plant, and also this one here reverted back to its non-variegated form. But anyway, now look at the difference. So this is a really good example of growing your succulents in bigger pots if that's what you wanted to do. Otherwise, you can keep them in small pots to keep them pretty, but for me, I prefer to grow them big and grow them fast so that I can put them in my gardens. If you want to grow some succulents really fast, I suggest putting them in bigger pots and a much healthier soil mix than putting them in a small pot and deprived soil mix. So that's all I've got for this video, and thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you on the next video.